So, please sit down. Okay, I said it already, but it was so loud I don't think that anybody heard it, that Patrizia Kahane herself, because she's a little crazy, produced all these little envelopes and with her hand wrote all these sentences. So I think for 2 nights she was busy. And now I want to invite Patrizia Kahane and Elke Zuckermann. The 3 of us, we are the founders of ACT Now. Yeah, Trio Completamente Infernale. And you read please, the closing declaration, summary, and all of you get this in English, or if you really don't want to understand anything, take it in German.
We will both read. So I start now. Our shared obligation towards children. Children on the move are the most vulnerable victims, defenseless, exploited. But they are also our greatest chance to help them and assure them a future. All it requires is a clear awareness of the issues. This is the key message and finding from the 3rd NOW International Mayors Conference here in Vienna. 31 million children and teenagers are fleeing from war, violence, or extreme poverty. Further 17 million children are displaced within their home countries. Of the 1.2 million people who came into the EU in 2016, 300,000 are children. 70% of them from Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Children and teenagers are affected in many ways by war and displacement and more vulnerable for many reasons, some of them being they are traumatized by war and violence and have experienced existential threats. They are particularly endangered during their flight. Take trafficking as an example. They are pulled out of school and face years of interrupted education. They get caught in multiple traps, forced labor, child labor, to contribute to family incomes, sexual exploitation, prostitution, also in the form of early teenage marriages and many more. They are forced into militias and armies. Girls and boys are exposed to different dangers that could overshadow their whole lives. Children with their families are exposed to different dangers than minors who move on alone. What they all have in common is extreme vulnerability to the pitfalls mentioned above. They are innocent victims, and if they are not cared for in an appropriate way, some may become offenders themselves later. Not because their families don't care for them, but in many cases because they simply cannot take care of them, because they don't have a roof over their heads, no jobs, and therefore no resources to provide for them. When these children reach our countries, they bring all those experiences and traumata with them. Unfortunately, it happens that new injuries are added here. They spend months and sometimes years in shelters, receiving little information about their rights and being insufficiently protected from sexual and other violence by fellow refugees.
There is no greater humanitarian obligation than towards all these children, each one of them with her or his own personal history. At our conference, we have exchanged so many great experiences. Mayors, refugees, representatives of NGOs and relief organizations, trauma and education experts have presented and shared their best practice experiences. They show clearly how much can be done, even with limited funds, to dispel some of the dark clouds hovering over them, and how we can create a brighter future with and for them. We have heard how Jordan and Lebanon created thousands of more classrooms. We have heard about the successes of psychological support for children with PTSD. Children who have nightmares every night cannot concentrate in school and may show aggressive behavior, but they can be stabilized if sensitive caregivers and teachers themselves also receive adequate training and support. We have heard of the many times children are overburdened by, for example, becoming the spokespersons for their families simply because they are the first to have learned a new language. They become their parents' parents, so to say, which in turn is a challenge for the parents. We have also learned, though, that these constellations can actually really empower these kids. So there is no one solution. Each child is different, each experience is different, each family is unique. We have learned that we have to listen to each of them. Not only refugee children are at risk, there are not so few children in our own countries and societies who are growing up in stressful environments with low educational, social, or income status and few opportunities in families with and without migration backgrounds. Our learnings from the past days have given us hope, while noticing a growing rhetoric of xenophobia being overstretched and ostracism in our political discourse. We have seen the enormous chances when dedication and humanitarianism go hand in hand. Someone said here these days that the countries in the Middle East, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, parts of Iraq and the Kurdish country and Turkey, they can say rightly that they are in many ways overwhelmed by having to receive or wanting and receiving the refugee families as best as they can. This is something we cannot say here in Europe. Europe is a rich continent, we are rich countries, and if somebody says we are overwhelmed here, this is borders to cynicism. This is my personal opinion. So here, these past days, we have seen children and teenagers who could start a new life within a few months or a few years, who have seized the opportunities and realized their potential where they have been offered the necessary assistance. We have seen and heard children who told us about their dreams. One young boy said, "My dream is to become a good Austrian," which was so touching. Their dreams and their achievements. We have seen children sing, and we have seen children's smiles. But we have also heard heartbreaking and horrific things. As a next step, we're going to invite representatives of all Austrian parties to a trip to the epicenters of the refugees' reality to enable them to witness themselves what we have collected as in our shared space here. We are somehow maybe over-optimistic, but still confident that no one will be able to close his eyes and ears when confronted with the wounds of the most vulnerable directly. So, I don't know how to say this in English. Ihr Einverständnis voraussetzend.
With your consent.
With your hoping that you all consent. We say that we, the participants of the Third Now Conference, mayors from Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, Greece, Italy, Austria and Germany, EU and local politicians, scientists, experts, and individuals from dozens of countries. We pledge to continue developing and sharing our best practice examples to stand up for an open society which shall protect the weakest and welcome those in danger with open arms and an open heart. Thank you. Our friend and mayor from Pozzallo in Italy, Luigi Amatuna, who is a Stammgast. You know, he has been with us from the day one of the first conference, is going to retire as a mayor at the next election, coming elections in Italy. And so he said to me, well, the next conference, I'm afraid I won't be a mayor anymore, and so I probably won't be invited. And I said, oh, no, 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 you'll be invited as the representative from Italy and an expert. Yeah?
Scusate questo intermezzo, ma volevo
Sorry for this intermezzo, but I wanted to provide a bit of sand from the Mediterranean, from the beach in Pozzallo, which comes into contact with many people arriving in Europe when they arrive. I also wanted to give a gift from the municipality of Pozzallo and photos of my town with the door and the windows of Europe. Thank you for inviting us here. And I think that I can interpret the ideas and the thoughts of all my colleagues and participants in this conference by repeating that altogether we are a war engine that wants to welcome. This is the best award we get for our daily work.
A glass with sand from the beach of Pozzallo, where so many people arrive from the Mediterranean. And he brought a little flag of the commune of Pozzallo and some photos. But he said, in short, I'm not an interpreter from Italian, that actually all we here together, we are like a little war machine to start realizing the good things that we all have in common and that are worth fighting for. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, this is it. We thank you all from the bottom of our heart. It was very, very impressive, at least for the son of my mother. And I will never forget these last 2 days. And I've heard so many things that give my thoughts and ideas new directions. You were wonderful. You were important. Everybody was important for somebody or for all of us. Have a safe trip home. You'll be invited again. We miss you already now. And we will go home and sleep for 3 days. And from us, thank you very, very much.
So it's not quite over. I'm still giving over to Ebru because did you already make the announcements about what's going to happen from next week? No? Please.
The first thing is, there was the idea, someone brought up the idea and came up to us and said, well, if any envelopes with seeds should be left over, please ask the mayors to take them with home so they can give it to people there. So therefore, here is, I hand it over to you, and maybe you can just hand it further on from, and take some and hand it over. And the second thing is, you have been writing your names on the flip charts outside the cubes on issues that you are interested in. And there are some focus issues have occurred, and there will be a collecting by Act Now, and Act Now is going to approach you. And from next week on, there will be some working groups initiated by Act Now to these topics. So if you haven't had the chance to put your name on the flip charts today, please, before leaving, take another walk around with a glass in the hand, and please put your names on the charts. So this energy which is created here, this energy and this created here, this kind of a movement, we could say, can go in the next phase and further on into implementation. And Patricia just wanted me to say that after you have bid farewell here to each other, and after we close, there's the possibility of having a drink and
some food, because this is a feeding conference.
A feeding conference.
Everybody
for the
gains
heart
2
and
kilos.
for the stomach, right?
When I was a child, I used to watch some cartoons about Sandy Bell, and that was a story about a girl that used to distribute flowers to people over the wall. And I never thought that I will be in her place and do the same thing. When
أحضر رسوم متحركة لشخصية ساندي بيل.
I was watching Sandy Bell.
التي كانت توزع بذور الأزهار لتزرع على شرفات المنازل.
Who was spreading to be planted at windows.
وكانت تمر لتراها مزهرة بألوانها الزاهية.
And she would then move around to see them blossom in colors.
لم أكن أتوقع لمرة واحدة أن ألعب دور ساندي بيل لأوزع بذور الأزهار على رؤساء البلديات ليزرعوها في الشوارع أو على جوانب الشوارع.
I never thought that one day I would be the Sandy Bell, giving seeds of flowers to mayors in order to plant them on the sidewalk of their cities and towns.
ولكن هذه المرة تحمل معاني مختلفة عن ما كنت أعتقده عندما كنت طفلا.
This time these seeds carry a different message than I used to think they would carry.
المعاني هي الطفولة بحد ذاتها، حفظ الطفولة، وهذه البذور هي حفظها في التربة علينا.
The lady is translating the Arabic speech, but you can hear directly what is being said from the stage. That is exactly what the Arabic speaker is saying. At the end, we have to all stick together, and despite the long distances, we will keep together. Peace be upon you all.